Everyone seemingly weighing in on the fiscal cliff. Now, U2 frontman slash philanthropist Bono is making the rounds in Washington, warning senators and congressmen about automatic cuts to anti-poverty programs. Sudeep Reddy has been following him. Sudeep, good morning.
Good morning, Rolf.
So, there's going to be a lot of horse trading when the two parties sit down. The sweetest thing for Bono would be no cuts to anti-poverty programs.
Yes, and Washington, as Bono knows, does move in mysterious ways, and so he is trying to really make the case, as he's been making for decades, that poverty programs somehow need to be protected. What he's doing is going around Washington. He's met with the vice president, lots of senior staff in the White House, leadership on both sides of Congress, to make the case to somehow protect these anti-poverty programs around the world. The United States is one important player in providing funding for these projects for HIV/AIDS treatment, for malaria, for nutrition, to deal with famines around the world. And all of these would be cut substantially if we were to go over the fiscal cliff. And for HIV/AIDS treatment would lead to 65,000 deaths. And so he's an important voice in leading the charge to try to protect these. But he's really the latest to just urge lawmakers not to go over the fiscal cliff at all.
Okay, he actually had some things to say. Let's take a listen.
This sequestration, should it happen, it costs, I think it's 8.2%. It just lobs off the whole top of everything. So that's about $2 billion of the programs that we care. That's probably, 275,000 kind of order of people whose programs would be cut, maybe 65,000 deaths. I'm still terrified about people wrestling the wheel of this, mad sort of lorry that they're driving off the cliff.
Well, Sudeep, it was a beautiful day to be in Washington. Did Bono find what he was looking for?
He certainly has not yet. These cuts, of course, do hit on New Year's Day. And so what he said is there is a desire around Washington to find some way around these cuts. And so he sensed some bipartisan interest. But of course, anybody can say that. Anybody can come to Washington and see that. And we're going to see lawmakers hurtling toward that effort. What's interesting is to see somebody like Bono make the case and draw enough attention to these programs. Because as I was sitting just a few feet away from him, hearing Bono talk about development assistance, and he was saying a lot of the same things that you'd hear development experts say about making the business case for aid and poverty program, anti-poverty programs. And the important case is that if you can somehow pull these countries out of poverty, as we've seen with Brazil and China and South Korea and India, then you're really creating a middle class that can ultimately buy exports and serve as a market for our products. And he's made that case. And when he makes the case, it is quite a bit more compelling to hear it from somebody like him who has that kind of stature, even though it's the same development argument you've heard from a lot of people. So obviously he takes a lot of pride in this work and pushing it forward, and he's been able to energize a lot of people.
But whatever happens, whatever the senators do, I mean, he'll continue his work with or without them.
That's right, Rolf. He certainly will, and he will be pushing hard, very hard. And it's been a very difficult week for him in Washington to actually make the case, but every door has opened for him when he's tried to make that case.
Sudeep, thanks so much for joining us this morning.